Hey there people, are you done watching Netflix's Avatar The Last Airbender and already looking forward to Season 2? Well, that may take a while or more. We can keep you occupied for now with what to expect from the next season of the live-action series. Season 1 proved to be a somewhat loyal adaptation of the cartoon, but with some significant changes like showing the genocide of the Air Nomads and the Fire Lord Sozin murdering Monk Gyatso and Prince Zuko's Agni Kai with his dad. We have a separate video on the top 10 ways the live-action differs from the cartoon, so check that out as well if you want. As we were saying, despite the tweaks, the first season of the live-action series followed the primary storyline of the cartoon, culminating in the exact explosive showdown at the North Pole. However, after Season 1's ending, the makers slipped in a credits scene about Sozin's Comet, which sheds some light on how Season 2 may shape out. So let's get started, but before you proceed, remember that this video contains major spoilers about Season 1 and possible ones about Season 2. Before we go into our explanations, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Avatar The Last Airbender ending. Explain. First, let us break down the ending for you and its implications. In the finale episode titled Legends, Aang and his friends Katara and Saka arrive in Aang, the capital of the Northern Water Tribe, to protect the city from a Fire Nation attack. Meanwhile, Prince Zuko also infiltrated the fortress city in the hopes of taking the Avatar aka 12-year-old Aang hostage. Zuko has been banished from the Fire Nation by Fire Lord Ozai, who happens to be the young prince's dad. And Zuko was only to return as the heir to the throne if he proved his mettle by eliminating the Avatar, who was the only threat that can prevent the Fire Nation from taking over the world. Furthermore, the power-hungry Fire Nation commander Zhao also landed up in Agnakela with a sinister mission. He intended to wipe away the waterbenders from history in order to achieve the status of a legend and become the next Fire Lord. Commander Zhao timed his attack on Agnakela on the same night as the guardian spirits of the waterbenders, the Moon Spirit and the Ocean Spirit, took physical forms and appeared as koi fish in the Spirit Oasis. Zhao slayed the Moon Spirit and subsequently rendered the waterbenders powerless. Enters Aang, who merged with the angry and grieving Ocean Spirit in his avatar state and transformed into the whale Zilla, a water monster in the likeness of Godzilla. This menacing, humongous creature, having lost its partner spirit, took a vengeful form and destroyed the Fire Nation fleet in a destructive tsunami. The only way to appease the Ocean Spirit, aka Whale Zilla, was by reviving the Moon Spirit. Princess Yue of the Northern Water Tribe, who was touched by the Moon Spirit when she was young, sacrificed herself in the Spirit Oasis to revive the Guardian Spirit and perished in the process. Once the Ocean Spirit sensed the Moon Spirit's resurrection, it began to retreat, thus causing the Whalezilla to dismantle. Aang, who was believed to have been lost forever after merging with the Ocean Spirit, returned to his friends and reflected on the destruction caused by the war waged by the Fire Nation. To protect world peace as the Avatar, Aang became resolute in mastering the other forms of bending, with Katara promising to train him in the art of waterbending. But Aang focused on learning earthbending next, which means their inevitable return to the Earth Kingdom city of Omashu. What they did not know was that Omashu has already been captured by Azula, the princess of Fire Nation. This brings us to Zuko's story, who failed to capture the Avatar amidst all the hullabaloo and decided to retreat for now. Zuko learnt from Commander Zhao that sending him on the so-called mission of tracking down the Avatar was actually Fire Lord Ozai's strategy to motivate his sister Azula to become ruthless and uncompromising, qualities not seen in Zuko. During the heated conversation, Commander Zhao was killed by Zuko's protective uncle Iroh. Back at the Fire Nation, Lord Ozai revealed to the great sage that attacking Agnakela was just a distraction so that Azula could capture Omashu in the meantime. With Omashu conquered for the first time in history, the only city left to be occupied by the Fire Nation in the whole wide world was Ba Sing Se, the capital of Earth Kingdom. Viewers were also treated to a credits scene in which the Great Sage revealed to the Fire Lord that Sozin's Comet is on its way back, and delivered this premonition: "It's taken 100 years, but the time finally draws near. We shall see the return of Sozin's Comet."
I don't know where this will all lead. The one thing I do know is this is just the beginning.
What to expect from Season 2, the return of Sozin's Comet. Now, why is the conversation between the Great Sage and Ozai important? Because it suggests that, just like the Fire Lord Sozin who started the war 100 years ago, Lord Ozai also intends to harvest the power of the comet. The comet brushes past Earth every 100 years and grants the Firebenders immense power on that particular night. Thus, Lord Ozai's words suggest he intends to attack the only remaining unconquered city, Ba Sing Se, in sync with the comet's return, when the Firebenders are practically invincible. This is the primary apocalyptic fate that Aang and his friends will deal with in the next season or seasons. Interestingly, in the cartoon, Sozin's Comet was supposed to return within a year since the events of the cartoon kicked off, giving Aang just a year to master all the bending forms and become the true blue avatar. But the live-action version has assigned no such time limit, which means the story's overall timeline will get way more stretched than in the cartoon. The one-year timeline was avoided, keeping real-life production time in mind. Thus, fans can expect to see slightly older versions of the actors in Season 2. Aang will learn Earthbending next. Traditionally, the second season is expected to follow Book 2 of the Avatar lore, and hence we'll also see Aang training in Earthbending, for which he has decided to go to Omashu. But since Aang and his friends are unaware that Omashu has fallen to the Fire Nation, they will be in for a rude shock upon their arrival in the Earth Kingdom city. This, in turn, might make Aang and his entourage change course to the Earth Kingdom capital, Ba Sing Se, which is the setting for the main action of the show. Presumably, that's how Aang will be present to save the capital city when Lord Ozai launches his attack, timed with the return of Sozin's Comet. Introduction of Toof. With the Earthbending narrative expanding, one more thing to look forward to in the next season is the arrival of Toof Bayong, a visually impaired Earthbending master. Given that Toof was introduced in the second season of the cartoon and in the second Avatar book, it is only natural that fans would expect her debut in the second season of the live-action series. More so because Aang will be on his way to learning Earthbending, and who better to teach him than the master Earthbender Toof? Aang will probably get a vision of Toof like in the cartoon, or will directly bump into the character if the makers decide to tweak the story. Considering Toof is from Ba Sing Se, it's more likely that Aang and his friends would meet her once they make their way for the capital, after witnessing what's left of Omashu. Though this is just wishful thinking at this point, it will be awesome. The Rock Johnson portrays the character of the earthbending wrestler named The Boulder in Season 2. In the cartoon, this character was based on the real-life Rock, who had a face-off with Toph and was hilariously referred to as the Pebble by the Earthbending Master. It would be interesting to see who portrays the fan-favorite character of Toph. It may not be a known face, but given the rest of Netflix's cast, it sure would be apt. Team Avatar meeting the Earth King. In Season 2, Aang, Sokka and Katara's journey to Ba Sing Se will presumably be to seek an audience with the Earth King. This character is oblivious of the war that's been going on for 100 years and has no idea how precarious the situation is beyond the boundaries of Ba Sing Se. The secret police force named Dai Li are responsible for Earth King's indifference. They conceal all information from him and rule Ba Sing Se on their own, reducing the king to a mere puppet. If the makers stick to the original story in Season 2, Team Avatar will attempt to convince Earth King to help them defeat the Fire Nation forces on the day of the solar eclipse, when the Firebenders would be completely powerless. What happens to Sokka? The finale episode of season 1 had Sokka get his heart broken when Princess Yue sacrificed herself to revive the moon spirit. With Sokka's love interest gone from the physical realm, it might pave the way for his reunion with Suki, the leader of the Kyoshi warriors. Sokka had a romantic encounter with the enigmatic warrior earlier in the season 1 story arc when Aang and his friends had taken refuge in a Kyoshi island village. Suki showed Sokka some strange warrior moves and the tension in the room was pretty palpable. Their brief romance ended with a kiss as Sokka had to leave with Aang on his mission to save the world. It would be a welcome surprise to see Suki make a comeback, not just as Sokka's girlfriend but also as the fierce warrior she is, to aid the Avatar in the final battle.
And now only Ba Sing Se stands between us and the total conquest of the Earth Kingdom.
Azula's next target, Ba Sing Se. Also expect to witness Azula launching a brutal attack on Ba Sing Se in the next season. From Ozai's last conversation with the Great Sage, we already know that he considers Zuko as dispensable and is unbothered whether he survived the massacre at the North Pole or not. Ozai actually let the bloodbath play out in the north so that Azula's forces could be successful in Omashu. As a result, Azula proved to be a worthy successor by leading the siege on Omashu and taking King Bumi hostage. Now, it's only natural that having conquered Omashu, Azula will be entrusted to lead the attack on Ba Sing Se in the second season. In the cartoon, Azula was named heir to the throne after Zuko was banished from the Fire Nation, whereas in the live-action series, Zuko retains his right, but he will have to prove he is worthy. Motivated by this driving factor, Azula could appear more cold-blooded and ruthless in the second season. Also, it would be pretty amazing if Azula's ally, Ty Lee and May join her in battle. May is a self-taught knife-throwing fighter, while Ty Lee is a formidable chi-blocking warrior.
Come, nephew.
Zuko and Iroh will probably hide out in Ba Sing Se. A conversation between Prince Zuko and his uncle Iroh also sets the mood for their storyline in Season 2. After the battle in the north, Zuko says, "I'm tired," to which Iroh responds, "Then you should rest. A man needs his rest." This scene, which shows Zuko's despair at having been abandoned by his father, is an exact adaptation of the cartoon sequence. This suggests Zuko has seemingly ditched the mission assigned to him after learning that there was no actual mission and he was just being used as a pawn by his father. Subsequently, Zuko would want to leave his past life behind, and in order to do that, he would have to avoid the Fire Nation army, and also Princess Azula, who is on his tail. Thus, the second season will probably see Zuko and Iroh landing up in Ba Sing Se and living as commoners in their attempt to blend in and hide out from the Fire Nation army. They might even set up Iroh's dream tea shop in the capital. However, their presence in Ba Sing Se would also mean they can jump back into action during the final showdown at the capital city. The second season will also see Zuko's inner conflict intensifying as to where his true allegiance lies, with the benevolent Avatar or with the malevolent Lord Ozai. There is always the possibility that Azula's success may motivate Zuko to resume his former villainous plan.
For you.
What is it?
Katara, the master waterbender, gets her first student. By the end of Season 1, Katara has already proved herself as a brilliant waterbender, receiving the nod of approval from Pakku, a northern waterbending master who was once regarded as the best in the world. Impressed by Katara's skills, Pakku asked her to stay back in the northern realm and train the younger waterbenders, an offer she had to politely decline in favor of Aang's mission. In the second season, while Katara will continue to hone the art of waterbending, she will also get her first student in the form of Aang, who needs to master all forms of bending. So expect to see Katara a lot more in action as the master of waterbending in Season 2. Might cut down the events of Appa's lost days. We know from Season 1 that the Netflix series has sometimes combined subplots and even left out some of them. Keeping that in mind, one can surmise that Season 2 might skip the subplot about Appa's separation from Aang. You know Appa, right? He's Aang's sky bison and his absolute bestie. In the cartoon, Appa gets captured by a group of sandbenders in the Saiwong Desert when Aang and his team are stuck inside the spirit library buried in sand, where they encountered Wan Shi Tong for the first time. Appa eventually evades his captors and lands up in Ba Sing Se, only to be recaptured again. This time he was set free by Zuko. We suspect the events of Appa's lost days will be skipped in the live-action series, as Aang, Sokka and Katara have already bumped into Wan Shi Tong, the Spirit of Knowledge, in Season 1. While navigating the Spirit Realm in the Earth Kingdom, the spirit of Wan Shi Tong appeared as a giant owl and warned Aang that the spirit world was a dangerous place for his human friends, which turned out to be true. The White Lotus secret organization. Did you know that King Bumi and Iroh are members of a secret society named the White Lotus? In the Season 1 finale, when Omashu was taken over by Azula, the Fire Nation forces took King Bumi prisoner. In the cartoon, at the beginning of the second season, Aang arrives to meet his longtime friend Bumi in his prisoner state. Interestingly, Bumi appears unbothered about being captured and assures Aang that Omashu is going to be freed again, thus hinting other forces are at play, namely the White Lotus. So, in the second season, fans can expect more White Lotus references, some of which already appeared in Season 1. When Iroh was captured in Omashu, he dropped a symbol before he was taken away, so that Zuko could track him. The symbol he dropped had the White Lotus emblem on it. In the Avatar lore, the secret society White Lotus comprised members from all 4 nations and was dedicated to helping the Avatar if need be. That actually explains why Iroh repeatedly attempted to talk Zuko out of attacking Aang. In the cartoon, once Zuko becomes the Fire Lord, he too enlists his name at the White Lotus, eventually becoming a leader. Marvelous verdict. To sum it up, Team Avatar is going to face new challenges and adversaries in the second season of The Last Airbender, which has not yet been officially announced at the time of creating this video. But eagle-eyed fans have pointed out that Season 2 has been in discussion in the writer's room for a few months now. Ideally, Season 2 should not be that far away, as the actors would age in real time, and Gordon Cormier would cease to be convincing enough as the 12-year-old protagonist. What else are you expecting from Season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender? Don't forget to share your ideas in the comments below. And if you liked our video, please give us a shout out and watch this space for more marvelous content.